Thanks for joining us this week on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Join your hosts Chris Marriott and Paul Schreiner each week as they talk email marketing, life, purpose, faith, but mainly email marketing. If you're looking for some normalcy in these crazy times, you've come to the right place.
Welcome back to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Here we are at home drinking coffee with my friend and colleague and journeyman in this journey,
Chris Marriott. Good
There
to
you
be
go.
here. Always
Absolutely.
good to be here. And we're both outside enjoying, while much of the country shivers, either shivers under the Yankee, the Alberta Clipper, that is just, crushing the upper plains in the Midwest, or the snow that's crushing New England. We're both enjoying the out of doors here.
Well, Chris, can I show you something here which may rock your world a little bit? Well, we did not get the amount of snow that you got in New England, in other parts of the country. I do have a little bit of a snowman right there. Can you see that, Chris?
I can.
Yeah, that's all that's left is a pile of snow with a carrot on it. It's a sad, sad day.
Well, I'm sure somebody had fun building it, even if it didn't last very long.
Well, talk about building. Guess what we're doing today? We have an incredible guest, Chris Marriott.
Yes, we do.
And I know you're going to be excited about it. I know your listeners are going to be excited about it. The watchers, it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, going to be another great show in our Founders series. Another one of the great founders of our industry, talking about how he got into it and some of the wild and crazy adventures they had back in the day. And as always, we're fortunate that we have somebody that supports this program and allows us to beam this into your.
Right. Well, I think you're talking about, Chris, is that I'm a founder here at Audience Point. Is that where you wanted to go?
And I'm a founder here at Email Connect. This is just
What?
the founders.
It's a Founders Day.
Maybe we should call ourselves Only Founders, unless Bill
McCloskey.
Yeah, unless he already owns the Only Founders.
That's true. That's true. Well, and I think now we give it a quick shout out because that's what we like to do.
Yep.
As a founder at Audience Point, floating the idea. Actually, it was producer David's idea in the first place. It was a brilliant idea. Being a founder, we get to see things that other people don't see, right? And so, man, I'll tell you what, I am so excited. We've had some great calls this last week with some really interesting brands in terms of really innovating the data decisioning space in a way that's honestly keeps me up at night at how excited I am about that piece. And so super excited about what we're doing, super excited to share those things as we go. But yeah, thanks Audience Point. Thanks our new product ListFit that's going to be on the shelves, the store shelves soon, that you'll be able to see and purchase it, the Walmart probably. There you go.
I was going to say, get in there because they're going to have trouble keeping it in stock. It's going to be
flying off the shelves. Flying off the shelves, Chris.
So that's ListFit, and again, Email Connect, the junior partner in this sponsorship coalition, but nevertheless an important contributor to this program's overall.
Not only contributor, Chris. I mean, really, contributor's not strong enough.
Well, and I'd also like to thank the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation for their contributions to our supporting this program as well. So they recently wrote a very big check, at least according to producer David Inman. We haven't seen it, but we understand it's there. Anyway, this show is too awesome to make you all wait any longer. We're going to go to the program. We're going to meet our founder for this week, and we'll see on the other side of the show with fan favorite producer David Inman.
Cue the tape. Welcome back. Today we have a guest, Loren McDonald. Great, long time email awesomeness. Chris, do you have the full intro here? Because I figure you probably do.
I'm always prepared, Paul. Yes, I do. Though Loren doesn't really need any introduction. We'll do one anyway because that's the way we roll here on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. He's got 35 years experience, which truly makes him appropriate for this Founders series that we're doing in season 5. He's a prolific writer of articles on all things email and more recently, all things electric vehicle, which we'll get into at some point. But email and digital marketing, over 500 articles there. He's been a regular poster on Email Insider since 2007. And he's been spoken all around the globe. I was a little depressed, frankly, Loren, when I read, I've spoken in, well, I'll rattle off Loren. He's spoken in the US, in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, in Mexico, in Brazil, in Germany, in Israel, in Sweden, in India, and in the Netherlands.
It's 11. I counted 11 there.
Yeah, and
you missed, or maybe you did say Brazil and Australia and
I did.
Norway. I can't remember what, but
all right. So Paul, count mine. See how much I fall short. I've got the U.S., the U.K., Sweden, Spain, Singapore. I think that's it.
I got 5. Okay, count mine. Ready?
Yeah.
The U.S. and the U.K.
2. So 2, 5, 11. So Loren wins the international circuit speaking title of the Founders series. And Loren, it's great to have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, really, really honored and excited to be on this. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of fun, but love what you guys are doing and sort of bringing some of the history back and some good storytelling to sort of bring everybody up to speed who maybe is a little bit newer to the industry.
Right.
There are still some new young people coming into this industry. We want more. So maybe sharing those sort of, grandpa old stories will get more people in.
Right. It's kind of like a time capsule, like opening an email time capsule.
I'm pretty sure that someone's going to take this season worth of episodes and form it into a long form book because it's that impactful, Loren. So feel good knowing you're a part of that.
All right. Awesome.
I never know when Paul's serious or not. I was maybe a Netflix series. I don't know, Paul.
You know who we should talk to, Chris?
We know people. We had someone who knows how to get on Netflix on season, I think it was 2.
Yep, there you go. Courtney Hazlett.
Yep, from PA. Okay, so before we get into Loren and history, Loren, what are you drinking?
Yes, well, in honor of the show, and actually not just in honor of the show, but every morning I start my day by basically grinding up some Pete's Ethiopian Fancy, typically beans, fresh, and brew. I used to brew 6 cups. Now I'm up to 8. I brew 8 cups. I drink all 8 by myself, and even have my Pete's cup. A lot of people think that Pete's should pay me because I'm obviously I have a brand that a lot of people know me over the years, obviously for email marketing and stuff, but like Tesla and Pete's Coffee and stuff is sort of my sub brands. It seems that people sort of associate with me. So I am still waiting. Pete's, if you're watching,
they are.
We'll send the address later on where you can send the checks, the royalty checks. So
that's interesting. And do you brew? Do you just like a coffee maker kind of brewer, or do you do?
Yeah, just a good old coffee maker. My daughter who lived in London for the last couple of years has actually moved back home, and the first thing she did is went out and bought a fancy like espresso maker and stuff. So they do that in the morning, and I stick to my my brew. It's only, Chris, when I travel to places like Australia and the UK like that where I get my flat whites. Right. I go to get I love flat whites. So if we're talking coffee today, yes, I discovered flat whites several years ago in Australia and love them.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
I want to correct a misperception just before. I haven't spoken to Australia, but I've been there.
Thank you, Chris. I know there's a lot of listeners and watchers who are very glad to know that.
Yeah, in New Zealand. So
I've seen New Zealand on a map for sure. Absolutely. No, you said you drink Ethiopian beans. I'm assuming you're Chefe because they're kind of the more popular beans out of Ethiopia. What's interesting, our daughter is Ethiopian, and when we went there, what we learned was they export all the good beans. So if you go to, I mean, in Ethiopia, the coffee is spectacular,
Yeah.
but they would tell you our good beans go outside of
Overseas.
Ethiopia, and so it's not surprising to me that you love the Pete's Coffee Ethiopian beans because again, you're getting the best they have.
Yeah,
Fun
yeah,
fact.
and not to get into more detail, but one time a year they have a special Ethiopian super fancy bean that
Yep.
is like, it's like drinking wine
Yes.
for breakfast. The blueberry flavors in those beans
Mhm.
are like just crazy good, and they only get it for like 2 months. So I go down and I buy like 8 bags
Yeah.
of 8 pounds of the coffee and stuff. But anyway, enough about coffee.
Well, no,
I
well,
know. Why would
well,
we talk about coffee on a show called Coffee? That's
well, I
crazy.
mean,
Well, that's why I went with it. So
fun
anyway,
fact, fun fact though, and Paul, I might have mentioned this on a previous program of ours, but back in the day, I worked on Maxwell House Coffee,
Right.
and I did their TV commercials.
is that coffee, Chris?
Yeah, Maxwell House. Well, funny you would say that because
No, it's
they made
Maxwell House.
they made their coffee with there's two main types of coffee beans, Robusta and Arabica.
That's right.
And they made their coffee with the cheaper bean at the time, which was Robusta, which they were sourcing from Ethiopia. So that at one time was the cheap coffee. And in fact, that's when Folgers came out with their Colombian roast, which was
Yeah.
Arabica beans. And I don't know what Maxwell House is made out of today. Paul knows I drink Santo
Right.
Domingo
Yes, I know you do.
from Dominican Republic. Though I'm drinking, again, because of the time of day that we're recording this, I'm drinking ugly uh, water, lemon lime. Yeah, lemon lime flavored. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Another guest of ours,
another guest of ours. Yep.
Ugly Hugh.
Hugh, still drinking it.
Hugh Thomas. Yep.
Thank you. And Paul, what are you drinking?
I'm just you're gonna crack on me, and you should because it's wild cherry tea today. Little herbal tea. I've already had 4 cups of coffee, so I'm JV when it comes to what we're talking about here, Loren, where you're sitting on 6 to 8 cups a day. But yeah, if I do another one right now, I can get one in later this afternoon, but right now I can't.
And I always thought Wild Cherry Tea was a sort of a band that had sort of female singers and hip hop
It is.
artists sort of all in
And
one.
it
But
and it
yeah,
is. Well, one last thought on beans because it is crazy interesting. They grow the same beans in every country, right? It's essentially the same strain, but it has to do with the soil conditions, the climate, all of these things. And it is a very, very different coffee experience depending on where it's grown. And that to me, so the origin really, really, really matters.
yeah. And Paul, that sounds like an amazing segue to talk about email marketing, because what you just described there was actually email marketing, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So
Yeah. So yeah, sort of.
Well, we should let's transition into email.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's talk about that. We have someone who's been in the game a long, long time, and you have seen a lot of stuff happen in the industry. You've worked with a lot of different companies. You've worked for a lot of different companies, but you've seen an awful lot, and would love I think this is such a fantastic opportunity to just kind of kick back a little bit and talk through some of that. What's been your you know what? Let's start with how you got into email in the first place.
yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago. I wrote sort of an article around a lot of different things sort of that I've seen was part of the last 20 years or so. And as part of that, I was trying to figure, what was that point of origin that I can actually, point to
Right.
as the beginning of my email career. And ultimately I decided on a period when I actually was CMO at a company, a startup in San Francisco, and we started actually sending emails. But if I roll back a little bit, there was some previous sort of history and inputs to that. In the late 90s, I worked for what became the world's largest internet consulting firm, US Web
Yep, I remember them.
CKS. Then
Yep.
they merged, became Whitman Hart and stuff. But I actually worked with we had an email marketing practice at the time. This is like 98. And so I actually worked with that team, and we even got on the phone at one point with the CEO and founder of Yes Mail, who at the time was basically a list rental company.
Sure.
And it's funny, when we hung up on that call, sort of the email guy who actually kind of even then had a deliverability focus, we kind of felt slimy, right? Like it just like, because
maybe they don't want our emails. Sure, they do.
Like the concept of permission, which we take for granted today.
Right.
Like in the late 90s and early 2000s, permission wasn't part of our lexicon really in email marketing, right?
There was this assumption that everybody wanted to receive our email. Of course they do.
Yeah. And we all rationalized it by, well, we honor opt-outs, right? And that was the rationalization at the time. But before that, Paul, it wasn't actually email marketing, but literally in 1988, I joined Arthur Andersen, may it rest in peace, the world's largest accounting firm. And actually, we acquired a subscription-based paper newsletter, and it was like $299 a year. So I actually dove in and learned direct marketing and database marketing and newsletter marketing. It just happened to be print, but so. That obviously wasn't email, but I sort of look back to that actually helped my career a lot by understanding that concept of sort of direct mail, if you will.
Well, and that whole industry, that era, I mean, that was the platform on which we built email marketing. That was the reference point most people had.
Right. I mean, and we joke about this, sort of, the early days of the industry, it wasn't called email marketing. It was called, direct email marketing or electronic, direct marketing. It had sort of this various names, and it had hyphens
email
in
newsletters.
Yeah, but it wasn't called email marketing in the early days, and it wasn't, and Chris, probably until like 2005 or somewhere in there, for whatever it was, when email marketing became sort of the de facto name. But up until then, you would see it referred to as digital direct email, or like whatever it is. You'd see all sorts of different terms.
Well, it's funny. It's funny. I mean, and you're exactly right, Loren. I mean, it's a couple of comments I want to make on what you've said. Is the idea of permission, as you said. I mean, nobody asked for permission to put mail in your mailbox. So why would they ask for permission to put mail in your inbox? And hard as this would be for the kids today to believe, in the 90s, when you logged in, if you had an AOL account, which I did,
which we all did,
and I still do. I'm an old timer. It would actually, the first thing you would hear, hopefully, was after welcome is you got mail.
Right, it was positive.
And you were excited to get email because
I got a mail.
Right, nobody was sending mail. Right, and so it wasn't until mail became a sort of pedestrian and then more of a painful thing to have so many emails that the idea of seeking permission became not just a good idea, a good business practice, but the law. But again, as you were saying, interestingly enough, back in the day, it was, it didn't even occur to anybody that people wouldn't want to get email in, late 90s.
And Chris, sort of a funny thing. So, as I mentioned, I was, I joined this B2B commercial real estate marketplaces, CMO. This is back in late 2000 and 2001. Early on, we got a Got Marketing account. If anybody's old enough to remember ESP Got Marketing, I think they're called Campaigner or something these days. But, it was sort of like the Constant Contact or MailChimp of the day, right? Sort of easy to get in. And one of our employees was a sales guy that had been in the industry a long time and had an Excel spreadsheet of like 45,000, contacts, including email addresses of like real estate industry people. And he just shipped us over that Excel spreadsheet, and we uploaded it to Got Marketing, and away we went. And I sort of cringed at that sort of, today. And, most of those emails that we sent would probably not make it to the inbox today.
Right.
We had no problem back then. But and we had amazing results, but we had sort of the company was a small company that was mostly engineers, and
Yep.
we'd go into the conference room and talk about our different things. And I remember, back in those early days, engineers were vehemently against email marketing.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you guys remember those early days,
I
but
do.
oh my God.
I was the engineer who was against it. Loren.
Yes.
Like, I would be sitting across the table from you saying, we just can't do this. Whether or not it was a technical hurdle, like we can't get that much throughput through. There was reasons, but you marketers can't just decide what you want to do and have us do it.
Yeah. I mean, I almost sort of miss those days, right? Because they were fun, healthy debates. But yeah, just sort of like there was this whole class of employee that fundamentally their body convulsed at the concept of sending emails to people. We shouldn't do that, right? And ultimately, I think, the point of that is that's what sort of probably led to the concept of permission-based email marketing deliverability, right? You had this whole group of people that said, wait a minute, right? This isn't actually how this industry should operate.
Right.
Well, and the thing that protected your physical mailbox, which was the cost to get something delivered
right.
protect your inbox.
There was a hurdle there.
Right. And that's where I think where they diverged. Again, as you said, the concept was to us early email marketers was very similar. It's an inbox, it's a mailbox. But again, there was no barrier to anybody going into your inbox because there was really no cost. Though, again, the kids today would be stunned at some of the CPMs in the early days of email marketing that clients paid, around 2004, 2005. The CPMs that at least some of our clients at Digital Impact were paying would make people's heads explode.
Well, but the cost of it, Chris, was so much higher, right? You didn't
volume
have
was
the
so much
economies
lower.
of scale that we have now, right?
Well, you had both. You had much lower volumes. Even your biggest clients were not sending billions of emails, and even then, I mean, I remember getting
technology has advanced. I mean, there's so many things that have brought the costs down from a place where, you say the CPMs were so high, and sure, they probably were, but they were still so much less than the cost of a stamp.
No, that's what I was going to say. Right. Even 250 CPM, what's that cost per email, in an inbox? I can't do maths very well, but it's not a lot.
Yeah. But you also have sort of on the supply side, if you will, there are thousands of legitimate big brands that send, like a billion or more emails a year, right? And in the early days, billion emails, like we weren't there. If somebody had a list in the the tens of millions, that was big and sending sort of comparable volumes. But today, now a lot of ESPs, they won't even talk to you, right? If you're not sending at least $1 billion, it takes us, too much money just to turn on the computers, right? For less than $1 billion.
Right. Well, the other thing that I think is probably worth pointing out is it was a new paradigm, right? And I remember the number of times I would be buying, shoes online or pants or something, right? And there'd be a little checkbox that says, yes, I'd like to receive offers from you, right? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Right. And I wasn't the only one, right? There was a training of an entire generation saying, this becomes part of your shopping experience, right? Like, it went from this is personal communication on how I connect with my mom to, wait, I get 20% off shoes at the Gap? Do they sell shoes? I don't know if they do, but you get the idea.
I think they do. Yeah. And I think, and not to be stereotypical, Paul, but I think, you sort of touched on something that really helped drive the industry, which was that coupon shopper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Is and again, not to be stereotypical, but But, I think ultimately sort of the female head of household, if you will, may have really been sort of the turning point for
Right.
email marketing, right? Because instead of going to their mailbox, we said, with the flyers, with the ads, with the coupons, whatever it is, if they did check that box that you talked
Yep.
about, they all of a sudden realized, oh my God, like they're going to tell me when things go on sale, right? I actually get discounts, 20% off, 30% off, whatever it is. And so I think, that's why we in the industry tend to sort of overweight when we talk about email. We talk about sort of retail and e-commerce,
Right.
because it really is that sort of period that sort of drove email success. The ROI, right? That sort of dollar figure that was direct and easy to measure.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, you're exactly right, and what you're saying is absolutely resonating. I remember this probably 7, maybe 8 years ago. I was like, just buy it, whatever it was, shoes, pants, something, right? And I remember where I was saying, well, I'm not going to buy it today. So what I do is I put it in my cart, and then I wait a day, and then I'll get this second email that says you save 30% from them.
Right.
And then if I click on the cart and then I wait another day, I get an even bigger discount. So I'm not going to convert today. So exactly what you're saying. So that coupon, that discount driven shopper was like, this is the real deal. And I think we've expanded from that coupon shopper to kind of where we are today.
Yeah. And I think that rise, as you said, is then what also probably drove sort of that next phase of, wait a minute, the email channel shouldn't be the email discount channel, right? The 20% off channel,
sale.
Right? This channel is better than every other channel on the planet, where we can have data and we can understand behaviors and pull in data from the customer's history and their web browsing and what they're doing in other channels. And then instead of just sending everybody 20% off, we can actually trigger messages and target people based on what we know about them. And so maybe Chris doesn't actually need a discount because he's very loyal shopper at Brand X, and he'll pay list
full price.
He doesn't need to, but Paul actually still, after 4 years on our list, hasn't made a purchase. Right. We're going to have to throw him something good to get him to convert.
You can charge Chris twice the amount we normally charge, and he'll still buy.
Listen. If I had Shriner money, that might be true, but I'm a ham and egger here. I'm going for those discounts. Trust me.
I'm going to tell you a story. It'll be quick. I was driving with one of my sons this weekend, and he said, "We're not alpacas in the backyard kind of money people, are we?" Oh, that's a pretty funny description. Alpacas in the backyard money. Anyway,
that's good. So you know what I want to get to, because again, Loren, you have, you didn't just get into email early, which you did, but you were, in all seriousness, you were one of the early sort of known people in email marketing, which led to the greatest job on the planet that you had with Silverpop, IBM, and Acoustic as being an evangelist. But how did you become recognized early, and what were what was your trick to get recognized, back in 2004, 2005, and talk about some of the your recollections of some of those early email conferences that popped up around that time.
No, great question, Chris. My background, I started my career at a public relations firm, and then our client, Arthur Andersen, hired me away. And as I mentioned, sort of was at Arthur Andersen, not only that subscription-based newsletter, I actually produced like 6 other paper-based newsletters. I did studies in the real estate industry. And so I was always a content marketer. So from the very beginning, I was a content marketer, and that sort of carried on through. And so then after the startup that I mentioned actually failed, and I launched an email marketing consulting business called Intivation, and I launched a website.
What year was that?
What's that?
What year was that?
That would have been 2002.
Okay.
2002. And so I launched a website, a newsletter called the Intivation Report. And so I just started writing and started building up a subscription, and I got a lot of followers. And the first funny thing that happened was like somebody reached out to me and they thought I was like a company, an agency of like 5 or 6 people or something. Right. So I realized I had this power of sort of the persona of,
Yeah.
just sort of all this content. And then and then actually I did my first ever, I'd done some public speaking before that, back in sort of the Arthur Anderson and PR days, but then sort of didn't for several years. But then Stanford, the sort of higher education group at Stanford, their web publishing group, found me through my exposure,
Yeah.
and I did my first email marketing speech at a conference, and I got hooked. I got hooked on it, and I
Yeah.
realized sort of
Yeah.
the power of influence that I had. And then I joined Email Labs as VP of Marketing in March back in 2003. And Chris, that's really sort of what started it all, right? And so, we were a small company, 13 employees, but we were starting to sort of get known a little bit. And our CEO was this young engineer who, while brilliant and smart, was, he was a little bit like Elon Muskish in that he was a little awkward as a public speaker, right?
Right.
Like smart, but, and so he didn't really like it. So it sort of became my job to be the face of Email Labs, right? And then I realized the power of sort of writing and stuff. And so I just exploded all of my sort of content and writing with newsletter. Funny thing is, we called it the Innovation Report at Email Labs. We sort of leveraged that brand and stuff. So Chris, I just really started exploding with writing content, the newsletter, speaking and stuff.
Yep.
And it started to put Email Labs on the map, right?
Yep. Sure.
And a little bit of sort of serious insight into my career. While I was VP of marketing and I was building a great team, what I found was I really much preferred sort of the evangelist type stuff, right? I much preferred to be on stage, writing, sort of building that brand through sort of education, or meeting with clients. And so, sort of at some point I realized that I didn't want to be CMO. I became CMO of the next company and things like that. But I realized that when I woke up in the morning, what really made me tick and what I loved was to educate people, right? Through my writing and webinars and conferences and things like that. So that's really sort of when it happened. And then, long story short, or we could go on forever on this, I then decided that was going to be sort of my career. And that's when I hooked up in January of 2007 with Silver Pop. And that became, as you said, Chris, the greatest job on the planet and in history.
I mean, I was jealous of you for years, and I've told you that in the past. I mean,
yes. And it really was. I mean, we joked at the beginning about how many sort of countries that I've been spoken to.
Look what you've done, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've actually been to like 19 countries, and I forget how many of those I've actually spoken in. But I mean, it was crazy to get paid to go, like, speak in the Netherlands and speak in India and speak in Sao Paulo and Rio. I mean, that was my job, and it was a pretty damn good job. Yeah.
I want to hit pause.
Quick question here.
Can I say something real quick, Chris?
Were you ever interviewed on TV in any of those locations?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I certainly did a ton of video interviews, but I don't know that I was actually on, like, Netherlands State TV or something. You got me
that was
there,
all
Chris?
about you, huh, Marriott?
Yes.
I was on in Singapore. Yes, I was on News Asia.
All about Marriott. What I was going to say was just hitting pause real quick. For folks listening, people who are in the industry or even maybe outside of the specific email industry, the power of influence, taking the time, writing down what you do, doing some content marketing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the rocket ship career that Loren McDonald has had, but certainly there is absolutely power in participating in sort of industry community type groups in moving things forward, because when you start talking, people start listening. That's my freebie.
Shape things.
Can we go back to my TV appearance? I think that
yes,
was
Chris, absolutely.
Chris,
we should.
I thought we were going to talk about Moshel, but maybe not.
No, you know what? I want to go back to. So, what was the first email conference you remember attending? What year was it? Which one was it? And who else do you recall was there that is still an influencer in our industry? So,
wow, Chris. It was probably, I mean, putting aside like the Stanford ones I mentioned, which were email conferences, but it was probably a ClickZ, ClickZ conference in New York in, late 2000 or something like that, right? Is my guess. And at the time, like, Jupiter Media and ClickZ were like the brands in sort of the marketing industry, not just email marketing, but sort of all digital marketing. I mean, they were like the kings. But and as far as who was there, I mean, I think David Baker, Jeannie Mullen, people like that were certainly had a presence. I mean, this is the problem when you get old, Chris. That's a long time ago. I'm trying to sort of remember faces, but yeah.
Well, you must have been at the first, because you wrote for Media Post as well. You must have been at the very first Email Insider Summit in Utah.
I was, but there was the prior one, which was in the Boulders. The spring one was at the Boulders in Arizona. Which had a and this is where the PG rating or whatever our rating is going to have to come into, but it has sort of a very memorable attendee who was a former Playboy playmate, and that's what most people remembered about that very first Email Insider Summit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess she didn't have a very long career in email marketing.
No, it's the first and only time we saw her at an email marketing conference. I think one of the vendors brought her along. That's the only thing I could figure out. But yeah, that was. Yeah, go ahead.
The Boulders did not have. I was not at that one. I think some folks from Axiom were there, and I heard stories of furnitures and pool furniture or patio furniture and pools and
oh my lord,
yes, it sounded like a debauched debacle, but I think it settled down by the time I think it got to Utah.
Got to Park City version. Yep.
And that was when Dave, for the kids at home, that was when David Baker, he was the first master of ceremonies of that event, correct, Loren? I mean, he was the first. He was at the one I went to, which I don't know if it was year 1 in Utah or year 2 in Utah, but I remember David Baker ran the show.
Yeah, I don't. That's possible. He may have. Yeah.
This was pre-Morgan.
Then I know Bill McCloskey ran it for a couple years as well.
He did.
And Morgan Stewart ran it for several years.
Yep. And then they brought it in house basically for one of the reporters running it. Yeah.
We're playing real inside baseball, guys. You're getting late, gentlemen. You're hearing some names, some very heavyweight names. I mean, Dave, Morgan Stewart,
from
David
Trendline.
I mean, these guys, Bill McCloskey, all were hugely and are. I mean, David Baker and Morgan Stewart are still hugely influential on the industry, and Loren ran with that Rat Pack.
Yeah, for sure.
And Jeannie Mullen, let's not forget Jeannie Mullen, who dragged, who dragged Ogilvy and Mather, the advertising agency where I did my Maxwell House commercials. She single-handedly dragged a top 5 agency into the world of email marketing, which at that time agencies were very standoffish of anything smacked of direct marketing, let alone email marketing.
Yep, and then launched the EEC, right? The Email Marketing Industry Association, if you will. So it all started with Jeannie and at Genesis back in around, I think 2006, 2007 was when that all kicked off.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Well,
well, go ahead.
no, I was going to switch topics a bit. So if you want to keep on this one, Chris, you're welcome to.
Well, no, you know, what I'd like to do. I mean, one of the things that with this show we like to talk about are you know, in past episodes about managing your career, dealing with job setbacks,
Yes.
and the various. And Loren, I mean, one of the things that impresses me most about you, beyond the fact that you had the best job in the world for almost 20 years, is that in the background of having the best job in the world, and being, again, one of the best known people in email marketing. I mean, you got some major award. I forgot to list it. You were like email. Let me find my list. You were Marketer of the Year at the EEC. You might have been that might have been the first time they gave somebody. You might have been the premier Marketer of the Year. So
it was. I mean, we launched that to honor Stephen Pollard, who a lot of people in this listening to this podcast don't know who he was, but he was sort of one of the early, really sort of great people in the industry. I actually hired him at Email Labs, and then he went on to work at Responses, and then died suddenly. But he was just this amazing human being who had come from sort of both sides of the industry, client side, vendor side, and he had this amazing ability to kind of be in the middle, kind of like the Bruce Springsteen commercial we saw in the Super Bowl last night, right? Is that he understood how to talk to marketers and to appease them, to get their emails into the inbox to make a buck, but then also understood sort of the deliverability side. And so we had this great way to sort of bringing everybody together in the middle to sort of a happy resolution. But anyway, so we launched this this award kind of in his honor, and I was fortunate enough to be the first winner of that. But it's gone on and expanded to sort of multiple different types of awards and things like that. And so, but yeah, that was 2010. And
I mean, so you were like in the Hall of Fame in 2010, 2011, and here we are 10 years later.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So you were like
we're right. That was like peak Loren McDonald.
You're like the Rolling Stones, you know, being one of the first inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was Loren, but anyway, my point was that in the background of being in the Hall of Fame of email marketing and one of the most recognizable figures in email marketing, you sort of created the second version, Loren 2.0, that has now become your primary. Primary Loren, which is you made yourself an expert and not only on electric vehicles, but a recognized expert on electric vehicles.
Electronic vehicles. First time I've ever heard that, Chris.
Yeah.
Electric vehicles.
Obviously, I failed at educating you.
I like my gas-powered engine, but as you know, but I mean, to the point where you're getting invited by GM out to product launches and stuff. Yeah. So talk a little bit about how Loren reinvented himself and now is, again, one of, you know, not only well-known in email, but well-known in EVs. And meanwhile, I'll let my dog in.
Yeah. And Chris, I'll try to sort of also, you know, make the point of why that's important to sort of listeners, what they can sort of learn from this. Has nothing to do with, you know, sort of me and EVs and stuff. But yeah, I mean, back in actually about 2005, I launched a blog around sort of all things green. The name of it was Loren Green. Only a few of you are going to get that. He was an actor.
Bonanza, baby.
Yeah, yes, on Bonanza and stuff. So a few people get that. But I was writing about everything sort of green and environmental, water savings and product recycling and EVs and solar and everything like that.
Loren's from California, folks.
Yes, I'm from California. So, but you know, long story short, Chris, is that I realized that I wasn't focused, right? I was writing about everything under the sun, literally, that when it related to sort of all things green. And so I literally came to this fork in the road. And at the time, California was in like its third year of drought. And so I said, do I write about water or do I write about electric vehicles? And I decided that I could have a bigger impact by focusing on electric vehicles. So that's when I launched EV adoption and was doing all of this mostly on weekends.
Yeah.
right? Because I was full-time employed, but it started to take off, and as you said, I started to get a lot of visibility, and I was writing for another a site called Clean Technica, which got me a lot of visibility, and it's through that yeah, like a lot of the automakers started inviting me to their electric vehicle events and things like that, and it just sort of took off. But so the point of that, Chris, that's important for your listeners is the power of communications in your career, right?
Yep,
like not everybody's going to become an evangelist, like I was, but I just was having this conversation with my daughter, who's sort of between jobs right now. She moved back from the US, and she's looking for an e-commerce job. And it's like, you've got to start getting your name out there, building your name out there. And she kind of doesn't really want to. It's not her thing.
Yep.
But it is really important, right? It is important to make communications part of your career. And I think it's why we're seeing sort of LinkedIn of become so popular, as people realize it is the platform to sort of help build and launch a career on, right? So, my point, guys, is that again, not everybody's going to be as writing thousands of articles and speaking on stage in multiple countries like I am, but you really can boost your career and ultimately sort of name your own job by building a personal brand at some level. Right. And so, you do need to think about getting on webinars. You do need to think about, putting your speaking fear aside and getting that first speaking gig. Maybe it's on a panel, right? Whatever it is. And you do need to think about, maybe you don't have to be a prolific blog writer, but, write stuff and share stuff figure out what is the channel that you can use to start to build your brand. And at some point, then you will be able to sort of name your own career.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm going to throw up a layup for you here, Loren.
Wait. I want to extend on that before you do the layup, because,
go ahead.
because I think advice I've given the vendors over the years, and some of them are probably sick of hearing me say this, is, and so I think what you just said is even more important for the email marketing industry, because we are a personality-driven industry. We were from the beginning, and we are still today. Yeah. And one of the brilliance of Silverpop in making you evangelists is they went from being a faceless, just another ESP, faceless ESP, to where Loren McDonald worked. And I tell ESPs and usually it's the bigger ones that you need to say, you guys have to have somebody or some people well known. You have to have, it from a company, it helps you to the standpoint, again, because people identify, Dan McDermott at Epsilon for years played that role as well, at least at the Email Insider Summit conferences where they were a major sponsor. And there's been other people who've done that, Ryan Phelan, not Phelan. Ryan Phelan.
That's perfect pronunciation on that, by the way.
Has successfully done that. And it works both ways, because I remember when I was at Axiom and we were looking for a new head of product marketing and product development. Actually, it was product development. And David Baker was one of the guys we were interviewing, and I was a big decision maker in that. And I was saying to management, guys, everybody knows who David Baker is. Everybody knows he knows email platforms. So if we hire him and he comes here, it's going to tell the entire industry he could have gone anywhere he wanted. He came to Axiom. He chose us, and we hired him, and it did have huge benefits. So, for companies, having a Loren McDonald, I think, in our space is critical. And our audience point has Paul, and I think that's critical.
That's right. I mean, when you got a name like Paul. No, but I do want to, this is, again, a little bit of a layup for you, Loren, I think. Okay. I think it is. But it requires just a short little backstory for people listening, watching. So you were at IBM Silverpop, or it was just Silverpop at the time. And, we were this fresh young startup audience point. And we had invented this technology, or so we thought we had invented it.
STO, baby.
Right. That's the one. Right. And it was very organic. It grew out of our need. And, after about a year or two of all of the chasing, all of that, maybe it was 3 years, I don't even remember. We started doing these Google searches. We're like, send time optimization. And sure enough, there's this company called Silverpop out of Atlanta doing something very similar, right? And of course, we called lawyers and like, did they copy us and all this stuff? And it didn't. None of that materialized, right? But the long and the short of it is, for a little bit of my life, I thought of you as a bit of an arch nemesis, right? Like,
wow.
either I was the Joker and you were Batman, or I was Batman and you were the Joker. It doesn't really matter. But and it was never ever the sense that, man, I dislike Loren or anything like that. I didn't know you. I just thought, man, this is a competitor that we're working in a similar
claims to have owned and invented STO, which we did, of course.
No, but
yes,
that's a whole different.
All right, guys. This is
anyway. No. There's a point.
This is a debate for another show.
There is a point to this. Here's what I was gonna say. We were both at a show, and I don't remember what show it was, but we're sitting at a table, and everyone else clears out, right? And I've always thought of you highly and respected you, but I remember there was this moment, and you're at your computer, and you're like, we just kind of got to talk, right? And what I walked away with from that was, what an incredibly kind and agreeable, compromising, like, let's work together. The market is more than large enough for everyone. And I remember you even offering up advice. And I remember walking away going, that was so weird, right?
Aren't we supposed to be enemies?
Right. Yeah, no, but in a positive way. And I thought, man, how well has this served Loren McDonald his entire career, where it's not necessarily about how do I get ahead, but how do I help those around me get ahead? There's your layup.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that, Paul. But and I know we're sort of getting sort of close to the end of the show here, and so it's probably a good way to start to wind up. But
oh no, we have our own wind up.
Okay, yes. But I mean, that is something that I sort of always took seriously in my own career, but also to me, what made email marketing special. And I know you two will agree with this, right? That email marketing, I almost feel like that we had the sort of the imposter syndrome issue or whatever, like that email marketing always sort of, there was all this like chip on our shoulder of, are we legitimate channel? We sort of spun off from direct mail or whatever it is. I don't know what it was, but there was always this feeling that even arch enemies, Responses and Exact Target, Silverpop, Exact Target, like whatever.
Yes.
We were all still friends. We all still got along. I mean, when we would leave Park City or whatever, it was cutthroat, but we all felt that we were in this together, and everybody was about helping each other. And so I think, I mean, part of it was certainly just, I have relished the idea of helping people along in their career and giving advice. I always sort of loved that. And at conferences, like you said, sit down. I would be happy to talk to somebody for an hour about, how to think about their career and stuff. But I also think it was sort of a larger thing of just like you just talked about that story. It was just part of the DNA of our industry that, hey, we're sort of this stepchild or something like that. And that we all knew that we were in this together and we needed to work together to sort of, all boats rise in sort of the ocean. But behind the scenes, it was sort of dog eat dog, but we truly were, friends and working together as an industry.
Well, and that didn't happen by accident. I mean, and that's part of the interest of the Founders series, our interest in it. It's the people like you who were the founders that set the tone for what the industry is today.
For sure.
That's another thing. We not only do we thank the founders for creating the industry, but for creating the culture of the industry. But
for sure.
Before we get too maudlin here, we've got to go to our lightning round, which is how we end every episode.
A lightning round? What's that, Chris?
A lightning round is we're going to give you, Loren, 5 words, one at a time, and we want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. We will likely psychoanalyze some of your answers.
We're going to psychoanalyze.
but the lightning round has evolved into something that there becomes a theme, like a crossword puzzle. So
Yep.
so if you understand the theme, you can crack the code, and you should be, in theory, able to get at the. I mean, initially we started, we'd say there's no right answer. Well, there's a right answer.
There are right answers, and you will get them wrong.
Right, and there's
it depends. It depends.
This
is
Loren
the right
may
answer.
consider this a bit of a layup. So this lightning round is the rock and roll theme.
Oh, I love this. Which makes sense because Loren.
Yeah, except that we have completely different musical tastes, Chris. So I will actually flub this.
Loren, there are right answers here.
There are right answers. So right, exactly. Okay. So again, I'm going to read you the word. First thing that comes to your head. So the first one, Matchbox.
Matchbox.
A group.
Okay. Second one, Twisted.
Hair.
Wrong.
Third one, Gin.
I know the answer to that. These are all easy, Chris. I can't believe you went this.
Blossoms.
Yes!
There it is. That's what we were looking for.
Now I get the theme. Now I get the theme.
Number 4, Black
Sabbath.
There it is. Correct answer there too.
And number 5, possibly the hardest one. And Paul reminded it was number 1 at first, Paul, but you pointed out last.
I'm glad I've adjusted.
I moved to number 5.
Warm him up.
Can I go back?
20, we'll let you go back.
20, sister.
Yeah. We'll let you go back.
Number 5, Vertical
Response.
No. Oh, but that one we'll take. We'll take that.
A vertical.
Yeah, we'll take that one.
Vertical. I don't know any bands named Vertical.
Vertical Horizon.
Yeah.
I don't know them.
Oh.
Like I told you, Chris, we have different musical. I was not into the hair bands. I was into punk and new wave.
No, there was only one hair band in there. That was Twisted. There was
that's true.
Black Sabbath, heavy metal. Vertical Horizon was sort of just the late 90s type Matchbox 20. What was their big hit? I don't know. You'd recognize some of their music, frankly, and you'd say, "Oh, I
like my Vertical Response answer better."
No, I liked it too. I mean, I'm going to accept that. I am going to accept that.
But actually, honestly, I never heard of that band, but I was a massive Black Sabbath fan.
Well, go to your Spotify account, pull up Vertical Horizon, and listen to their number 1 most.
He's everything you want. I think.
Right. Exactly. I think that's called Everything You Want.
Everything you want.
Great use of harmonics in the guitar. Great use of harmonics. Anyway,
I wish you could be.
We're coming at the top of the hour.
Yes, we are.
Loren, it's been great speaking with you.
Absolutely.
And we could have gone on all afternoon. It's sometimes good that we have other things that we need to get to, or we would bore our audience eventually. 3 hours in, we'd be still talking about Utah and Email Insider Summits. Yeah. But we want to thank you for joining us, and thank you again for all you've done. You have helped set the tone for the culture of our industry. You were there at the beginning and helped develop it. You gave some great advice, I think, to the kids and people on the show today about how to build a career about content marketing. So we
were able to evoke an emotional response from him. That was good too.
You're the whole package. You're the whole package, and I'm glad that at least you may have spoken in more countries, but I've been on TV. So
there you go.
With that,
hey guys, it was an honor. I really appreciate it, and let's do it again.
Yeah, and hope to see you soon at some event.
That was Steely Dan, by the way.
That would have been too easy. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks.
Bye. And we're back.
We're back.
Oh. And where is David Inman this week?
Today, where are you today, David? Quick report.
Well, I'm working outside today. I'm still here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's just a little cooler than it has been.
And is that your panda, or is that a feral panda that just is in the neighborhood?
I think that's just one of the feral neighborhood pandas. But as you know, Chattanooga has a very diverse, biodiverse flora and fauna.
I did know that, and I also was aware that it had a very large feral panda population that has been somewhat problematic. I understand.
Right. David has panda in the backyard kind of money. You
Oh
know what
yeah,
I mean?
there we go. Yeah, I mean, obviously he does. And so we're all outside today.
We are all outside today.
I guess we covered this in the pre-show, or was that just the stuff we were talking about before we even started the pre-show? Did we make a point that we're out here enjoying the weather?
I don't know.
I can't
We're
remember.
outside enjoying the weather. Well, Chris, I'm going to bring our listeners in on. We were having a little conversation before this, but I think we should spill over a bit.
Okay.
So I make closet wine. My wife says I've graduated from the category of prison wine, but it's essentially brewed in the closet with anything I can find and some yeast, and boom. And I share bottles of wine with producer David Inman. And you asked, how come I don't get to have closet wine, right? Or prison wine. I think you asked about prison wine.
I just know. I assumed it was wine, not something that's going to make me blind. And you know, the word brew and the word wine don't belong in the same sentence, unless you're a hillbilly.
As a classically trained vintner, Chris, I oppose you fundamentally here.
You ferment wine, you brew beer.
As a classically trained vintner, well, in this case, I don't think that's true, because once it reaches either prison or closet stage, it is brewed.
And David, apparently, it has not made you blind yet.
Not as far as I can tell. You guys look crystal clear today.
Well, that's good.
Oh my goodness! But it's so. David, get my back here. It's good wine. Yes, tell me, talk.
It's good wine. So I'm not much of a wino myself, but I enjoy drinking it, and there's definitely value in being gifted a bottle of wine that was made by a friend. That quadruples the taste.
I mean, the very fact that you're drinking something brewed in a closet, I think that is the very definition of wino.
No, Chris, no, it's an artisan model. Well, that's what we're doing here. Why don't you support artists? Chris? Well, I think that's the bigger question.
And what kind of bottle do you put this wine into?
It's a wine bottle it's actually a beer bottle. But let's not get on that. It has one of those reusable caps that that
like you get with the Grolsch beer. The Grolsch beer has those caps.
Yeah, right. Very similar to that. Very, very similar to that.
Do you make David rinse and return the bottles to you so you can reuse them?
I don't make him do anything. You can't make producer David do anything, right? Watch. Hey, producer David, could you put together an expose on, I don't know, politics in Chattanooga? Could you do that?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
See, you can't make producer David Inman do anything. Hey, David, really, really fantastic, interesting guests coming up. Could you reach out to them and invite them on the show?
Maybe.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, Chris. Like, that's the thing with producer David Inman. You just,
no, typically,
will be.
Well, no, more often he's passive aggressive, where he'll yes you and I to death,
and
then not do it. And
100%.
That's his MO. He'll be, sure, you want me to do that? Sure. And then he'll walk away and he'll think, those chumps, I'm never going to do that.
Right. 100%. And so I don't even expect it. So when I get a bottle back from producer David Inman, I feel like it's a gift. It is an unrequested gift. But yeah, producer David, not only did he give me 3 bottles back recently, he also gave me a log that when burned, it smells like Kentucky Fried Chicken.
What?
I know.
Is this an artisan log that you've crafted somehow at your house, producer David?
Yeah,
producer David must
a prison log, as they say.
I think that's something different.
Yeah, I think that is too. Let me ask you this, producer David: Does your female companion drink this wine with you?
She does, and she is she'll enjoy some varieties more than others, and I think that the fact that Paul and I are such close friends is the reason that I might enjoy some of the varieties more than she does. And I don't think.
Which one did she like the most?
The most recent one, the pear.
Oh, she liked the pear the best. Interesting.
And so what are the ingredients of the what does your starter kit look like as you're beginning this
Okay,
process?
it's pretty simple, Chris. You get a jar.
Yep.
You get some fruit, and it doesn't matter what kind of fruit, just anything, and about 4 cups of sugar and some like distilled water, purified water, and some yeast, and then you're done. You let it bubble for a while, and then transfer it to bottle.
Sounds kind of sugary.
Well, what's interesting is alcohol is crazy sugary. That's the lesson I've learned through this whole thing is like alcohol, like the reason we all gain a ton of weight is because alcohol is full of sugar that's translated. So the little microbes in yeast eat the sugar and poop out alcohol. And but yeah,
Then there's no sugar in the alcohol because it's been
okay. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, there's carbs in beer. I mean, that's what I think.
Carbs.
Carbs are the villain. Carbs are the villain here.
Yeah, for sure here.
But I like my Stella Artois, and
Stella's a good one.
Yeah, well, having lived in Belgium in my early years, I developed a taste for fine Belgian beer.
Oh no, I get that, but honestly, I mean, not everyone has Chris Marriott fine Belgian beer kind of money. You know what I mean?
Well, they have it on sale at the Winn-Dixie, so I've been lucky. down at the Winn-Dixie.
Well, is there anything else we need to cover, Chris, or are we good? I thought Loren was a fantastic guest.
I thought Loren was a fantastic guest. I think this was the first episode where everybody was wearing a baseball cap. So
I noticed that too. For the wonks we have, the email wonks, they're gonna, that's gonna be on the Twitters. That's gonna be there.
The Twitters. They're gonna say, sometimes Chris wears
a
hat.
Hats.
Sometimes the guest wears a hat, but this time Chris and the guest wore a hat. But then Paul, who never wears a hat, wore a hat.
Yeah, I usually don't wear the hat, Chris, just to basically to show this off to you. So you're like, how does someone have such flowy hair? You know what I mean?
Yeah, God was making up for some other deficiency. I'm not sure what it is, but that was a trade-off for you.
Yeah, for sure.
What is your fast break? What is fast?
It's a local running store here in Chattanooga. They do good stuff and take care of a lot of runners. I really like what they're doing there. Local.
It's nice looking. I like the yellow. I mean, it's too bad I have such a big head. I'm sure that hat wouldn't fit me.
Chris, I'll tell you what.
I have to go to my own. I have to go to the Big Head website to get my hat.
No, listen, Chris. If you come up through Chattanooga up to Illinois this weekend, I'll buy you a hat that says.
But it won't fit. That's got one of those. What in the back doesn't have the things that you clip together.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
I'd be out at the very last one. The hat would constantly be barely holding on, and everybody.
Right. So I got in the flowy hairline and you got in the big headline, and everyone knows flowy hair doesn't translate to watchers or listeners, Chris. Big heads do.
Well, as Adam Curry, our guest in season 1, right. Our very famous guest in season 1. Frankly, I'd like to get Vince Vaughn's opinion on it. I think Vince Vaughn kind of has a big head.
I would never say that. I would never say that out loud, Chris.
If you look at him, look at some wedding, look at the gifts, wedding crasher gifts, and he's kind of got a big head, at least compared to what's his name?
Owen
Wilson. Who's the other guy in Wedding Crashers?
Was it Owen Wilson?
Owen Wilson, right? Oh, and I watched, I got suckered into watching Owen Wilson's movie on the Amazon.
Yeah,
Bliss.
I started it.
It was horrible. It was
tough. It was tough. The first couple minutes, I was like, "Oh Lord, this is." And I love Owen Wilson.
Me too, which is why I got suckered into it. I do too. And I saw the ending coming from a mile away. I don't want to ruin it for producer David. He's probably now all excited to go watch it.
He's gonna be like, they said nothing but great things about that Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, for anyone who's made it this far,
we want to thank you.
Yep. Yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what we're doing, what you like, what you don't want. You know what I mean?
And if there's some founders that we need to include, we are all open to suggestion. We don't tell you the number of answers.
the number of emails, Chris, I get to emailgeekscoffee at gmail.com that say we want more Chris Marriott and less Paul Schreiner. It's hurtful, frankly. It's hurtful.
You know, we're never going to go that route. You and I are a team. We're not going to, you know, we're not going to ever let egos and creative differences get in the way like happens to those bands on Breaking the Band on Reels.
Right.
David and I are, you know, they're never going to make a movie or never going to make a series about breaking the podcast.
Hey, David, for next week, could you put together a movie on breaking the podcast that we could maybe launch here for the first time?
You know, Paul, I think I'm going through a tunnel. I think I might be losing you.
He's getting more creative. Anyway, folks, we appreciate you listening, watching, sending in your ideas.
Yep.
And you know, the wedding proposals to producer David we get a kick out of those. So
oh my goodness, I'll tell you what, the hand-drawn pictures that producer David Inman, I don't get the infatuation our fans have with him, but they love him.
But they love him, and you know what? Who are we to question our fans? They know what they're doing. So keep it up, folks, and we'll see you next week with another great founder episode.
There you go.